Hello, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and welcome to Advertising Series Lesson 6 or Chapter 6 on Marketing, Segmentation, and Marketing Mix, Determinants of Advertising Strategy. You're either taking me in an online class, a face-to-face class, or one of my workshops. And this is a supplement to the lectures or the forums that we've been discussing or will be discussing within this week's lecture or discussion group online. So let's get right into the meat of this. So let's talk, I'm going to go generally over about the marketing mix. We're going to be talking about the product life cycles. We're talking about geographic, behavior, psychographic segmentation, different ways of segmenting the market, a large total market, to find that niche, to find that proper communication to that customer, whether it's governmental, whether it's a business, or whether it's the consumer. So we'll go into the objectives. You already have access to the reading material. You already have, and you should be reading ahead. This is a supplement, so just kind of giving my perspective or tying in the whole reading. I utilize concept maps, and remember, part of my concept maps or mind maps is you're always going to see the pluses. The materials that you've been provided may only go to the second tier, and you're to write the other information in. Advertising works properly when it utilizes or tries to utilizes all senses that a customer is going to be exposed to. That's with the print media, that's with the voice, that's with touch, that's with smell, with feel, everything else. So what we are trying to do here with this concept map, it shows you the whole picture. And as you read the material or you're listening to me and you're writing notes now, you're utilizing more of the senses to move it from the short-term memory to the long-term. And same thing, the goal of advertising is to be a good communication tool for my marketing plan and my strategy. But I want the customer not to only remember it at a short term when I'm building a strong brand, as we discussed in previous lessons. I have to be able to connect with the customer. So it's kind of like picking up on our consumer behavior chapter that we did prior to this one. So what are we going to learn this week? You're going to pull out your mind maps. You only may have to the second tier, and the reason that's done intentionally, if you print them out, they're on 2 pages, they're large enough so you could write. I want you to get, as you're writing it and reading it and stating it and hearing to me, you start planting the seeds, just like advertising and marketing. I plant the seeds and now I'm watering it. I'm trying to get that seed to germinate, and trying to get that seed of knowledge or my advertising campaign or my message that I'm sending to expand and take root within the customer. So now when he or she sees a certain brand that we're going to be talking about, the major brands, oh, there it is, AT&T. I remember AT&T. AT&T is a good brand name and good objective. A strong brand, but they have to maintain that brand. Okay, so we're going to define market segment and describes the purpose. How integrated marketing communication is used with the product element in marketing. Let me just make this a touch bigger for you. There we go. Okay, you can read this now. Explain the target market process. Illustrate how integrated marketing communication (IMC) is used with price element in marketing. Remember, price for the consumer is a very pivotal point. It tells a lot about your product or service. When everyday consumers look at the price, the higher prices, they expect a higher value, a higher quality of product, or better customer service. They don't mind paying a higher price, but they expect something for that price, what we would call value, the total value. Okay, and how does IMC, or integrated marketing, is used with communication element in marketing? That's our objective. Boy, now I'm going to try to keep this under an hour. I always try, but look at this as a supplement to the lecture. When I'm lecturing in a face-to-face class or in a forum, I can only cover so much information. I like to go right into the heart. How do I apply this? So this is a good base after you read the materials to hear my perception or the way I would look at it, or how a marketer or an advertiser or a campaign advertising ad agency would view this. The more I understand about the whole process of marketing, the better I will be able to connect my product to a specific niche. Now remember, my product doesn't have to change. My message changes to different targets or demographics I'm looking for. And let's look at AT&T, wireless service. AT&T targets business people, different message. AT&T targets baby boomers or more mature individuals with the simplicity of an app. AT&T, so they have different messages. AT&T also targets Generation Y, targets teenagers a lot differently than, or Verizon, than they would somebody else. Yeah. So when I'm looking at to understand my customer base, I first have to understand the total market. I have to understand who is in that total market I'm trying to reach, and I have to understand the different demographics, niches, and now I could communicate to that niche exactly how they would like to take that information in, or how they're exposed to that information. Okay, so let's look about the marketing segment process. Flip on this. First of all, you have to identify people with shared needs and characteristics. I'm not stereotyping. I'm not profiling. I'm a marketer. We call this demographics. Not kind of like a profile. But what I'm trying to understand is the customers. When you go into the store and you're shopping and you're buying certain things, and when they had like the rewards card or you have some kind of a membership card, they know each member what I would buy. And when I get advertisements, they're very specific to me because I did a previous purchase, maybe by brand, or they could, like it or not, there's a lot of information that we convey indirectly in everyday transactions that we don't realize is being gathered and compiled. And this is what we're doing. Now we have all this information, whether it's secondary data, which is most inexpensive, or it's primary data. It means I'm actually looking to answer a certain question about from my consumers. What do they like it? Do they like the ads? Do they like the product? Am I believable? Whatever. So when I'm looking at that, now I got all this information. I know all these different people. I know their ages. I know their sexes. I know their likes. I'm trying to find out something about behavior. Whatever. Just through the regular buying patterns, you already have a high probability. I kind of can estimate what you're going to buy next. And you could tell that when you're on the internet and you're buying something on the internet, for lack of a better word. I'm buying something, and then all of a sudden at the bottom it says people similar to individuals, consumers who purchased this book or this product also purchased these other products. You see, so now they're trying to help me say, oh, I never thought about that, because they kind of have a general idea of where I'm at or what I'm looking for. So now I had this information. Information doesn't do me any good. A lot of data. If I look at accounting, a lot of data. Until I pull it into reports, I've got my ratios or whatever, or in here I don't know how many customers replied to the ad. Now that data becomes useful to the marketer, to the advertisers, because now I know how to communicate to that individual. We talked about the communication process. How do I decode my message so they could, how do I encode my message so my ultimate consumer could decode and understand what I'm trying to tell them, even though I may not see them. And some of the new advertisers are very interactive, where on the web I could do a lot of interaction. Okay, so identify and share the needs and characteristics. Aggregate these groups into certain segments. Now I group them together. So it's like anything else. It's like I'm doing line rep. Put the socks together, all the blue socks here, all the brown socks here. I'm just trying to understand what we're doing with this data. I'm grouping it that makes sense, that they complement. Because now I have this group. Now I know how to send a message to a total group and still be kind of individualized to that individual. Because you see when you get some ads advertising advertising George, and it's written in a handwriting. Well, they know my name. Instead of just saying to a consumer, they try to make it more interactive, more personalized, but still very generalized. Okay, so we have that. Now, share characteristics, and we're going to be talking about this through the whole lesson today. Behavioralistic, I have certain behaviors, certain demographics. I fit into certain kind of demographic, my education, my age, my likes, or different. And we'll talk about that, or you've already read about that. Geographic, I live in a certain area. I could be by region or local. And psychographics, I'm thinking a certain way. My emotions, I have certain attitudes or certain likes, certain perception. You can't touch it; it's intangible. But I could I exhibit those, and I somehow could pick that up, and I try to put that into my communication to that clientele or to that marketing niche. Let's go into the behavioralistic segment, and I'll just go with for lack of better words, it has the user. Remember, in my concept maps, I have all this so you could write your notes. But the reading, you also have certain exhibits. I like the picture. So if I'm looking at the pictures say 1,000 words. I try to get away with that when I have to write out my dissertation. No pictures, George. Just so much graphs. We need actual verbiage in there. Okay, so how do I break it down? User status. Is it a sole user? Only one person will use it? Is it a semi-sole user? Is it a discount user? A lot of times when I go into stores, I only buy stuff that's on sale or on a sale price. And you say, George, you saved $25. I don't buy anything else. Remember, part of the whole thing from so I'm one of those things. I'm one of those customers. They know that I only come in when there's a sale. I won't buy anything else. Other customers, when they come in and the sales draws them into the store, and then while I'm around there, I'll buy other stuff. Trust me, sometimes I do buy more than what I actually come into. You have to be very determined. Okay, aware, non-tiers, trial. Some people are just going to try it. Some people are going to be rejectors. And receptor of users. Who's going to be utilizing this at the end? So I'm looking at this from a business. A lot of times I may be selling to a business, business. I'm trying to utilize or business to business. But I have to understand their clientele, their customer base. That's how I bring value to that small business or to another business, because I understand their customers better than they do, because I have the resources to find out about that customer, where a small business may not have those resources. So I'm an added value. For a little higher price when you buy my product, I also able to help them with the advertising. Remember, that's part of the whole total package when I'm looking at a advertising agency, or if you're doing something independently as a business owner. Okay, so purchase on occasion. Some people, that's how they purchase. Usage rate. Some people buy the same thing all the time. I'm not talking about, so if I'm looking at something like pet food or something else, I know they're going to, after a while, I could pick up the habit when they're going to buy the food. They got so many dogs, and after a while they come to my store, like PetSmart, and I've got the preferred cards. I get some discounts. They already know when I'm going to buy. That information is very vital to me as a business owner, as an advertiser, because now I know how to stock up. I know, hey, at the end of the month, most of my sales come in here, or if I have too much data, if I have extra material because I couldn't sell it, I know that if I reduce the price by so much, because I already have that data on a certain market or certain niche, certain customers that I'm trying to target, I could be pretty good. I could predict pretty well what my sales and how much inventory I should carry and what I should carry. Okay, by the usage rate, and then a volume segmentation, and then benefits. Some people are only going to buy the high quality. Some people are only going to buy the made in the USA. Some people are going to buy very only organic or natural type of product. So I have to make sure I'm a store. Let's say I'm a Walmart. So I have to find that balance to satisfy the customers when they come in, that they will not go to my competitors, but they find the shopping experience and the ads and the communication are targeted. They feel that it's coming directly to them. Okay, so that takes my behavioralistic. Now let's look at geographic. And geographic is just really easy. Sales are analyzed by region, certain regions, so and this is more for for medium or large, or even small businesses. The country size, city size, by the zip code, and I could do by a certain zip code. Once I understand if I'm looking for middle-aged individuals with education and an income of 75,000 to 85,000 on a yearly income, I would look around. I got the individuals, and there's programs out there. You put in the zip code, and they'll give you demographics of that area. Or you could go by the Chamber of Commerce. I'm just throwing this in for how do I get that information. It's available secondary data. It may not tell me, but it says here you have 80 in this zip code. I have 80% fit your criteria that you're looking for to sell your product. That's a good market for me to start advertising and trying to saturate that area. So here's the zip code. I understand the individuals. What else is out there that I could utilize to complement my communication message through the advertising arm? Okay. Now the demographics. Now this one's going to be kind of good. Defined by the statistical characteristics. I'm going to look at age, sex, ethnicity, education, occupation, income, and other quantifiable factors. If I'm looking at selling timeshares, and then a lot of times you see timeshares. So timeshare, that means you have to have some disposable income. So I would have to set a thing. Individuals over 50,000 still would have, after have living in this zip code or this area, will have enough disposable income to be able to think about a time-sharing option or buying a new car or whatever. If someone's in the poverty level, I'm not being disrespectful, from a advertising perspective, there's no reason to communicate to them because they can never afford my product. Or the product is not it's nice, they'll see it, but it's out of their reach. So remember, I'm looking at advertising and management and marketing is that I'm effective, and it's a good return on my investment. And my investment is how much money I'm spending for the ad, how much money I'm spending for the radio time, how much money I'm spending for the television. What am I trying to get out of it? So we'll have this. So let's look at age. And then here's an exhibit, and this one's kind of good. So I'm looking at age 0 to 5, baby food, nursery. So I'm knowing if I'm in an area that has a lot of newborns, this is where I'm going to be advertising. 6 to 19, school children with teenagers, right? Clothing, sports, CDs, different ways to advertise. That's my market. I'm Walmart. How do I bring them in? So if I look at the advertisement, if you look at Walmart or in Target, look at their ads. They are basically segmented by different age group: young adults, car, furniture, home entertainment; younger middle age, larger homes, better cars, clothing, food; old middle age or baby boomers, recreational item purchase for young, married, and infants. Remember, this age here has disposable income that could help these other age group, especially if they got grandkids. They spoil them. So when you look at some of the commercials that I'm looking at, if you look at the TVs, I got my grandson, he watches a lot of TV, and all of a sudden they got a commercials in there, and they're not talking to the little kids. They're talking about are you tired? Do you need some energy? Because they know the grandparents or their parents are watching this, so with their children, so it's a nice way to kind of indirectly put in their message while the child is watching their TV game or video game, or whatever they're doing. Okay? So that's how I do by age. Now I'm going to look at ethnicity. The largest population growth in the United States is Hispanics. So now I have media that has, you look at the radio stations, you look at McDonald's, you look at Burger King. In a lot of areas, certain areas, they will have it in English, and you flip it, they'll have it in Spanish to make them comfortable. And that's why the value meals. So you buy all this. After a while, when a person that doesn't speak English, look, my mom was English is a second language for me, and so I understand broken English. And if I could just know, somebody explains what it is, and they'll go out, take a number 5. They could learn number 5. I want a number 5. It has everything I want. After a while, they'll pick up. So it gives them a base start. But I have to make them feel comfortable. I want them to come in. You're going to come in, if I only speak English, if I speak Spanish and a broken English, I would like to go to a store or a facility that will have some of the stuff in Spanish that makes me welcome, since they have money to spend. I'm an advertiser. If I'm a predominantly Hispanic area, I have to have some ads in Spanish and Spanish-looking individuals. If I'm a predominantly in India, from India, in Indian, not American Indian, but from India, I'll have more of an Indian type of an individual, and ads may be geared to them with their, certain symbols, certain colors indirectly that they'll feel comfortable. They don't know why they like that ad, but it's got the color combination, because I understand that niche, that say, I like that. Okay? So here's where I'm looking at. Here's the money spent on advertising. Look how much it went up from, let's see, advertising media growth, supplemented age 2006, and this is all Hispanic media, 10%, 4%, 2008. So when I'm looking at this, this is how much it grew. This is the larger size. This doesn't make sense on this. Hispanic media, spent ad spending growth from 2006 to 2008. We went up by 1.9%, which is a good, in 2006, big influx. Now I already have it. They're not growing as large as what do you call it, the population overall, but there's still an increase. There's still an increase. So I'm maintaining this growth here. I don't have to maintain it anymore. I already have it here. It's on a maintenance. So now I've saturated them, and we're doing pretty good at that. Okay? A little confusing when you read the material, make it a little easier for you. Okay, so now here's the other one that I'm looking at. When I'm looking at psychographics, and I'm going to use the overview, and I'll go through a couple of these. It's basically feelings, my values, my attitudes, my personality, my lifestyle, and you can tell some people are very loud in colors. A lot of salespeople are very, plaid. I never wear, this is a little very calm plaid, but I won't wear a real bright plaid. This is that's my personality. It doesn't fit certain colors I don't feel comfortable with. I don't know why. It just doesn't, this class, maybe it's from my aura, my spirit, who knows, but I don't feel comfortable with this. So let's look at overview. So when I'm looking at my feelings, how do I feel about something? That's my emotion. What's my lifestyle? Am I a single party person? Am I a religious person? Or I'm a family person, I'm a single parent, and some of the lifestyles I may be thrown into, and some of the lifestyles I choose. What's my personality? I'm an outgoing personality. I'm a shy type of individual, so I mark it a little bit different to bring that shy person in, or bring that boisterous person, so my clothing line fits his or her personality, or my car. What's my attitude about certain things? About changes, a certain new product lines, and what's my value system? Remember, and when you look at sponsorship, when you look at values, when I look whoever the spokesperson is, if he or she violates my values, I may just knock off the whole brand. That's why when you're looking from advertising, and I have someone that's a spokesperson for the, like Tiger Woods, so I'll just throw that one in. So he was the spokesperson for golfing. Excellent. Everyone was tied in for it. He had good values, everything else, until he had a little marital problem. We all have issues and problems. That's just part of life. You learn to come back. But once that became a deterrent or a noise or something that was upsetting the rest of the customers, it looked at, if I'm going to keep Tiger Woods on there for certain products that drop Tiger Woods, is because it affected the value of my customers. Remember, from advertising marketing, my customers' value said, we don't appreciate anyone who is has marital issues or cheats on his wife, or whatever the issue is, or domestic violence, irrelevant. So that person's dropped right off the bat. Boom. Says they do not no longer fit into my value, and that's part of their contractual agreement. So that's one of it. Now, and when I look at the VALS framework, and let me just flip this on here, it's telling you the classification system places consumers with abundant resources, psychological, physical, and material means and capacities near the top of the chart, with minimal resources near the bottom. The chart segments consumers by their basis for decision making, Ideas, achievements, self-expression, boxes, and interests also indicate that some categories may be considered together. For instance, a marketer may consider thinkers and believers. Remember, thinkers, believers, they'll, and remember, they already had this information about this certain demographic or certain target market going on there. And so I have a thinker and a believer, so my ads will work within there. So I'm looking at innovators, achievers and strivers. So a person who's an achiever, he has the same attitudes or attributes as a striver, experience and makers. So low resources, low innovation, high resources, high innovation. So when I'm looking at targeting, I have to make sure that I'm looking for the high, if I'm looking at the thinkers and innovators, that my product is innovative. If I'm looking at the believers and strivers, just makers, I don't have to spend that much resources because there's low innovations. They're happy with what they have, and they'll change everything else, but they like more of a consistency in the overall. Okay. Now let me just push this back. Okay, now let's look at business and government segments. And I'm going to look at this one real quickly. When I'm doing business to business or business to industry, the government is part of the or what they would call institutional. Hospitals, I market different to hospitals, institutions, to prisons, to libraries, to schools, and that's all still underneath the government. And I market to local governments, to the military, or like Great Lakes is in within this area, within our reach, or so. I sell to them a lot differently. I advertise to them differently because they get information differently than a regular consumer. When I do mass communication, it goes out there, but it's to the regular end users. Businesses still are customers, but they take information and they process and they have a different decision making. So they have professional buyers, or what you call procurement. Their whole job is always to make sure they get the best product, best quality, at the lowest price. But it has to first meet, price is not the main objective. It's the quality, delivery, and then price comes into it, and then where the distribution centers are located at. So their whole job is always to make sure that I'm always getting the best price. That's what they're employed for. Over a consumer, if I go to a bank and I set up the bank account, I usually don't want to change because I don't want to go through the hassle. So I may not check. You get car insurance. Once I get into car insurance, I never check. As long as it works, they take care of me. I may be overpaying for what I actually need, but I don't want to change. But in a business to business, they have buyers. They're always looking how to reduce the cost, how to get the same quality with a lower cost. That's how Walmart could always say we are the lowest costs around. And many purchase decision factors, just quality, specification, not just only in looks, not very little emotions in this niche of customers I'm trying to reach. Categorizes by the National Association code source, and I'll have that in here. We'll talk a little bit about that. Small number of buyers and concentrated geographically. Okay, so that's a big overview of what I'm talking about, the business to business. And I should probably put that in here. Now, when I look at the code, it's North American Industry Classification. I'm not one into, what do you call it, for lack of better words, acronyms. I'd rather just have the whole word. But this is one that's, the NIC code is always one that, from businesses, what it does is segments industries into, it's a utility. It was developed, and the government utilizes this to look at economic growth and to see which areas are growing, which areas are not. So every business, Walmart has a numbering. If I'm a manufacturer, I have a certain code. If I'm a plastic industry, I have another subcode. So from a marketing, from an advertiser, this makes my life easier. There's another agency, the government, that's required everyone to have one, or is done the work for me. Now I just have to understand where they're at. So I can look geographic. Where's the highest concentration of this type, if I'm looking for manufacturing or wholesales that I could find. Let's go into what it looks like. So here it is. I have a certain sector, information, a subsector, broadcasting, telecommunication, industry group, telecommunication, industry, wireless. You see me? So here's the U.S. industry, here's paging. So I have different code. By this code, so this is, here's the sector, and now it just starts breaking it down. What you have to understand, a lot of companies have different processes. They may be plastic, but they also may be a wholesaler. They also may be a retailer. They also may be a manufacturer. So you'll have different classifications for underneath one corporation. But that gives you a start. So now I know it gives me an idea of the organization, how it's laid out, and how I could advertise not only to the headquarters, but to the other sub sectors to give my message and communicate to them properly. It's a good start. You'll be doing some research on your products when you're doing your overall paper in this class. Okay, exhibit the U.S. manufacturer. So let's look at the code. So if I'm looking, note the importance of Midwest California to manufacturing. If I'm looking at manufacturing, here is where my highest code is, right? I know there's manufacturing all over, but here's the highest concentration for what I'm looking. That already knows I could. These are probably already saturated by other my competition. What other market other than here has a high manufacturing area is what I'll be looking for. Okay, so I'm looking at manufacturing, AK, where the heck? All right, never did good in geography, but you could find that in here in the book. So now I have another market. Or maybe I don't want, I'm a small business. I don't want to get to the larger ones now. I'm going to go someplace else that they're not saturated right away. Popped up again. Okay. So do you see how when I'm looking for advertising, there's a lot of information out there. Secondary information is your key. Now I know it helps me. I don't have to spend I just need to have the right research and know where to get that data. Okay, now aggregated marketing segments. And I'm going to look at this thing. I first have to select a group interested in public utility, whatever I'm trying to do. I'll look at the whole market. I'm looking at the specific. And then I combine the groups to build target market segments, homogeneous and profit potential. So no different. I try to group them all together. Like I try, if you're doing anything, those who've done any kind of puzzles. Let's look at this way because it ties in with the map the geographic map that I had in there. How do you do the puzzles? I try to find all the colors. I know the sky's blue, so I put all the blue thing. Then I try to find everything else that has the lines. Because I try to do the what do you call it, the border first, and then fill in. And so that's you got a puzzle to 5,000 pieces. There's no way you're gonna do it in one piece. Where does this go? You're already doing that. That's what you. So when I'm looking at advertising, I'm doing all this. I'm segmenting. Now there's something that they have in common, and now that they have in common, is there enough of that group to make a profit? Is there potential for that group? They may not know it yet that they need the product, but if I market it properly to them, they're going to want it. And I mentioned earlier when I look at consumer behavior, when you're looking at Apple coming up with the new the Apple Watch. This is not it. The Apple Watch. What are they doing? I've seen more ads. Look at the ads. I've seen ads here. I'm seeing in the print. I'm seeing even in like Best Buy, other stores. They've got the watch and the ads are there. And now I start seeing people looking at it saying that's not too bad. Let me go in there and find out what else it could do. What it'll do is for me to have the Apple Watch, I have to have an iPhone. I don't think that the Apple Watch works with other products. They may change it. I haven't looked into it. So I want the watch. I'm forced to have the iPhone. So now the two complement each other. So it's an extension of another brand that makes it easier. After a while, I may not even need to, I don't have to pull out the phone all the time. But you see how the two gets in. So the Apple, I have a lot of Apple users. I already know they already have their iPhone. So let's get them to watch. Now, other individuals like the watch, but the other makers, like Samsung, doesn't have a watch similar to what Apple's coming out with. Now they're scrambling to come up with something so they don't switch over. Because they like the watch, they're going to have to, and the only way to get the watch to work, they have to have and I could be wrong into that, because I haven't really got into that on that. I'm just using that as an example. Okay, now the target market process, here's how it works. I have to define the target market. We've already done that. Remember, we did this through this first section. All this here is defining. Now let's go into the heart of it. Now I select which target that I want, and I use the 4 P's to shape it. When I look at the 4 P's, remember, product, price, place, promotion. For business, product is first, and then the place, and then price falls at the end. That's my different promotional. In business, I do more for quantity, or I give different discounts. When you take me for finance, because I teach some finance courses, there's a whole bunch of different discounts that I could give to a business that's not available to small consumers because they're not buying by value. The closest thing you can look at discounts may be by quantity. If you go to Sam's or Costco's, you buy by larger quantities. So so when you look at it, it says if you buy this, it's $20.99 per unit. It's 13 cents per unit. For business, I have to say how much is it I'm paying per unit, and I could sell that for 25 cents if I'm buying certain drinks. If I'm a small store and I got my own pop machine or whatever, I buy it there and I buy it for 25 cents, and I could sell it for $1 or 75 cents or 90 cents, whatever. Just a nice markup for me. But remember, the markup also has to do for the air conditioning, for the electricity to run the pop machine to keep it cool and everything else. So, but I have to understand all these because these are all triggers, and in what order depending on the market. Because a lot of markets are very, we talked earlier about the elasticity or inelastic. Some prices, if I just go by a penny, they drop it. They won't buy it because it's substitute good. Other markets, other products, I go up higher because there's a lack of selection or competitors, or my quality is better than somebody else, and people are willing to pay that higher price. Now let's go into product life cycle. We saw this a bunch of already in other lessons, but the product life cycle, we all have a product life cycle. When I was a baby, I grow up, I get old, product, and I'm going to decline. So in a product life cycle introduction, wean the product into market. I have to bring the product in. Apple's doing that with their new watch because they're looking at there's so much you could do with the phone and everything else. The next thing is wearable technology. When I'm exercising, it'll take my pulse, everything else. When I'm golf, for lack of better words, I hit the ball, everything. I could go in later on, and because I've got wearable clothing on that shows me exactly how I'm swinging, shows me where I'm twisting the wrong. Or the video will show it too. You could see it, but this gives me, I could bring it into an animation, and I could actually bring it in and say, here's what you have to do to correct it, and here's how you could correct it. So I got to bring people in. I'm introducing more of awareness. Here, we're available. They're not talking about price. They're just flooding. What could it do? Working on the emotion. And then the growth. Now people are buying it because I start seeing people walking around with their watch. It doesn't look too bad. I'm hoping HTC, the smartphone I have now, or that even the Apple phone will be able to interact. And I think they're going more and more. You can see seamless because people don't like, they'll buy one product here, another product here, from somebody else. They like that flexibility, and it opens up a larger market, because only so many people are going to like Apple iPhone. Business people like more the Androids. You're not going to convince them ever to go to an iPhone. So, but Apple still wants to saturate in potential. So why could we just adjust something? Okay, so now the growth. So now I got competition coming in. Now you're going to come in here when that phone gets into this maturity. What's going to happen? It's stabilized. You kind of, customers already, everyone has one, or those who don't have it, you start seeing prices drop. We're going to talk about prices. And now it's on a decline. What do I do to change it? Now, it may be on a decline, or I could keep it longer. Remember, my whole thing at the maturity is to keep it alive as long as I can before it's dropping. If it starts declining, maybe I could find another market to sell it to. Or do I adjust something on the app? Do I do something to the phone? Make it smarter, make it more intuitive? Do I something I have to do? Or it just keeps on going down, and I just let it go away. I don't need it anymore. Minimize the effort of time to market. Fight for market share is what advertising is going to do here. Maximize market share by the earlier. Okay, so we took care of that one. Now let's look at product element. And I'll go by, and this is classification by positioning. And I'll go by the exhibit because I think it'll have everything I need on here. If I'm looking at classification, here's my market, my consumption rate, right? Tangibility, is it tangible, intangible? What are the buying habits, what we did in previous lessons? I have to understand the consumer. How does he or she buy? Where does she buy? What stores do they go to? What radio stations do they listen to? What newspaper articles are they reading, or what magazines, or what publications? What are their buying habits? What's the physical description? Positioning, own a word. Sometimes got a catchy word. Where's the beef? When Burger King had that, their ads with the little old with the granny going looking at a hamburger. Where's the beef at? And they caught on that. Benefits offered. Market segment classification and the differentiation of product. What makes my product different? So I've got that. Okay. What did it do here? I think here it is. When I'm looking at perception, let me just add it. When I look at perception, what makes my product different? And I mentioned that before, and I use this as a common trend when I look at smartphones. It's all smartphones, as far as I'm concerned, are the same. There's something, they all have the same functionality, for lack of better words. But why would someone want an Apple versus a Samsung? And that's just apparent to the customer. I think it's a better product. I think they're more trustworthy. I think it has a better value. I think they're more creative. I think they are the up and comers all have iPhone. Remember, that's the perception. Now. So that's something I could kind of advertise and convince. Remember, because marketing is not only the tangible, it's the intangible. If I perceive I have a good experience, then it works. Okay, now the hidden one is not so readily apparent. And they use the example that in the reading was Trident gum. It looks the same like any other gum. I look at the package, Trident, right? It tastes the same, has the same color, same packaging, maybe a different color, but a company. But it doesn't use sugar. It uses artificial sweeteners. That could be a plus. But now when you start hearing the negative of artificial sweeteners, that it does put on weight, it may not be as good. Don't say, Dr. George, you're wrong. I'm just looking at I'm a consumer now. And this is what I'm hearing from the other ads saying, and that's from the sugar industry. Sugar's better, it's healthier, it's natural. There's no additives, no chemicals. Okay? So from a consumer, I'm going, okay, maybe I'll take something that has real sugar in it. What's the difference? Since it doesn't have that kind of effect. Whatever study, whether I believe it or not, I believe it, but whether it's true or not, or how far did they embellish or enhance that information, that's for me, the consumer, to be aware. So right away, I'm going to try it. Artificial sweetener, I may put that away. Or I don't like the sugar, or I'm thinking sugar is bad for my cavities or whatever. So for my children or for my grandkids, so I'm going to do with the sweetener. So that makes it different. Okay? So that's a hidden, remember, because you can't tell. But my advertising ads or something say, we'll have to have something that says sugarless or no sugar added or something in there. But if I just look at it, unless I read it on the packaging, I wouldn't be able to tell. Now, induce marketing creates the difference. Otherwise, are the same. And it's the same thing with the Apple versus Samsung. They make me think I got a better quality product. They make me think it's more innovative. It has more apps. It's more flexible, whatever. Remember, those are induced, and that's all done through advertising, through the communication. Just like I said, when I looked at something else out there, when they do something bad about another, or they say we're just as good as the product, remember, I always want to be the one that they're comparing to me, the product too, because that makes me the baseline. That makes me the leader in that. Okay, so let's go on product branding. And I'll go through the exhibit, the product name, the words that attach it to it, like Coke's got its slogan, the design of the bottle. If I look at Coca-Cola for a long time, they had a regular bottle like everything else. All the bottles look the same. You couldn't tell the difference. But what was Coke's, and they got a patent on that, what was Coke's whole thing is the way the bottle was shaped. So now when you see Coca-Cola products, even in plastic, they're shaped the same way like the original bottle, because that's the name. People see that, I can see right away that's a Coke product versus in a Pepsi. Okay, and the words in certain symbol, Coke had a symbol, it's international, worldwide. You could tell by their the color and the symbols of Coke, and by the design. And so it's an individual, family, national, private, or license. All this is brand loyalty, brings loyalty. And everything else is in here is a branding. So when you're looking at advertising, you have to make sure, just because you got the person's attention, you've got that person or that segment with the jingle, but they remember the jingle but cannot associate it to Coca-Cola or to whatever product, you failed as an advertiser. Short term, you failed. You want the jingle. Remember when I said, where's the beef? I already tied it in with Burger King. Where's the beef? Because I remember the two. And that's the connection you want to make. And that's how you build on the brand. The jingle. So when I'm someplace else, I hear the jingle. It's like subliminal. Or a certain smell or whatever. That's what I'm trying to do from an advertising. Remember, advertising is how do I communicate, and communicate is basically marketing is to train people to like my product, to buy my product, to educate them without them knowing they're being educated. And I want to use manipulated, but certain triggers there because I understand their buying behavior, and I have a higher probability that they'll pick up my product. Okay, and exhibit of top brands. These are the top brands. Coca-Cola's number one, and they do an excellent job in their advertising and everything else. Microsoft is another one. Everything else you see with Microsoft. IBM, but I look at IBM. It's got a good brand name. IBM no longer on the computer. They still do for the individual computers. IBM very heavy into business and governments, and their system's a little different. But they're going now into consulting, so they already understand the computer industries, but their whole area is in how to consult and how to bring all the technology into one easy, manageable format or connections, or build the system for them. And when I hear IBM, I already looking at it. They're the top of the line. So they already got the name brand. I'll listen to what they say. I'll read their articles versus than George's computer consulting business. I don't have a computer consulting business. All right, and then Toyota, McDonald's has a brand name. Now the brand name for McDonald's is kind of hurting them a little bit. And the rationale, what you're finding out is people are going healthy. The swing is more healthy. The bad thing about kids' obesity rate, heart disease and everything else, because I'm not eating healthy. How do I change McDonald's into a health thing? Jimmy, what do you call it? Subway is already, you think of Subway healthy. I mean, some of the foods is questionable, but overall is healthier for you than McDonald's. That's there. So Subway already is in the health track. Now, so what does McDonald's do to turn around? They may have a new product line, but they have to decide, are we after the health conscious? Is that only a fad for now because the government's knocking us down, saying obesity rate and everything else? Or we do have that, do we try to slowly change our image? If I look at JCPenney's used to be the same like Sears. They were compatible together. JCPenney's wanted to go into the Macy's, into the higher end area. So they did a change, and it took them about 5-10 years, so people don't look at JCPenney's as a Sears anymore. They do compare them with Macy's. You know what I mean? But then JCPenney. Penny. I always said they should have changed their name because penny means savings, but that's just the name of the founders. But remember, from an advertiser, man, I get rid of the name JC Quality, Mr. Big or something. I don't know. Okay. So we have that. Now we have the goal of brand loyalty. 44% of consumers will buy products just because of the brand, and they'll stick with the brand. Brand, most important buying in electronics. Price came in second. So if I'm buying something, and look, when I buy a computer, even though other computers are there, like Acer's another good computer, and Acer's a little lesser than some of the higher end ones. Like if I would look at Dell, and even Hewlett Packard, Acer's down there, but a little lower prices. So if I want something at home, right now I've got a HP. I got the, I'm looking at the quality. I'm looking at the pricing, the reliability, the support, all that's involved. So I'm looking at. If I heard a new brand come in there, never heard of them, I may be questionable. But I've used the off-brand ones. Just when I use for my laptop. So when I travel, I do going from place to place. I don't want to spend. I like a real nice, good, solid laptop. I'm in the airport. I throw it on my luggage. It gets beat up. It could get stolen. I don't want to spend much money. I want to throw away computer that gives me the functionality when I'm on the road. I could get into my email, I could do work, I could have enough memory that I want. If I lose it, if I break it, if someone steals it, or if my luggage gets lost, it doesn't hurt me. I will take that gamble. After I use that product, I say, this isn't too bad. I may, this is a nice entryway in to start going to a higher end. Or what if it, I've tried that one, it worked, I had too much problems, I may not do it again. I said, well, you get what you paid for. Okay? So let's see, equals, what do I have on this one? Individual, okay, we're all set. All right? Now, product packaging. I'm going to go in product packaging. Now, product packaging, let's break it up. Consumers, business T, or to business. For a business, you don't have to have fancy packaging. I just want it in a box that doesn't break because I'm sending it because I'm going to use your part so it doesn't break. It's going to be a component of my overall product I'm going to sell to consumer. To consumer, the packaging is my salesperson. It is my protection. It is all the information I have. If I look at when I buy a disc, when I have one of these little discs I pick up, I have in here, it comes in a package like this. I have to take a hacksaw to get it out because it protects, but it tells me everything I need right there. It catches my attention. It also has, if I look at packaging, it also has different shapes. And if I look at different shapes, it has to be something where it has, I can't have it a shape that's real big, awkward, because then when I'm trying to sell in the store, me as a business owner is going to say, hey, this doesn't fit anything else. It has to fit. Here's my shelf. That's the only space I have. I try to get as much items in. So remember, so it does a lot of different things, overall packaging. So from an advertising perspective, let's look at the advertising perspective. You're looking how to get their attention, how to give them information. How does it appeal to the customer by their color, by everything else? What's the economy? A containment, protection, convenience. Identification of my product. You look at Duracell. Duracell batteries have a certain color and everything else. So when I have an off-brand that looks just like Duracell, it looks just like it. It just changes one letter to make consumers think it's the same thing, so they're going to buy without looking because they're so conditioned. Here's the Duracell. I always know these are color, boom, boom, but so they have a packaging closer to it. So be careful on that. Okay, and let's look at containment. Okay, I have that, and I just had that. So remember, when you're doing the concept maps, I only give you this tier and this other thing. So when you're in here and you see the other thing, you write in protection, you write convenient. That's how you start learning. That's how you start learning the material. We're covering a lot of lessons. I think there's like 19 lessons or 20 lessons in this series. Okay, now price. Let's go into pricing real quickly. Price factors, production, distribution cost, my competitors' cost, corporate goals, what's my price objectives, and variable influences. We've talked about economics, the supply, the equilibrium prices. As a business, I will supply more if I have, remember, I'll supply more, large supply offered at higher prices. If the price is high, I will make more products. If for some reason, because of my expenses and my competitors here, and it takes me more to make the product, I will have lower supply. So this is where we look at the equilibrium. This talks between now the demand. How much will a customer pay for my product? So this is when you look from economics. Real quickly, I'm not going to go into the whole chapter economics. You already had that in marketing. You had it in internal business with me, or in finance. So this is the equilibrium. This is what the customer and the business is willing and can still make a profit at their price. Because if I raise my price, my demand will drop. If the demand goes up and they're willing to pay the price, I'll make more. But here's the equilibrium price, or the market price. Now, if I want to charge more, I may lose my demand. So I have to give a perception that there's a higher value for my product. You get a better value to consumer than my competitors, because remember, my competition's looking at this, and that's what Apple's done. They have the perception it's a better product. It's for the in crowd. It's for the up and goers. It's for the higher social class of individuals that has the Apple, the iPhone, so they could charge a higher price and still maintain the demand. but consumers are still looking at that. Businesses are always looking at the price. Okay, so that's our equilibrium price. Okay, market price, supply and demand side. We talked about that. Demand factors. All that has to be in price. There's all logarithms out there. So if whether it's in the elastic price or elastic pricing, makes a big difference. Sometimes 5 cents could drop my whole supply. Now, when I look at a price element, let's look at Walmart and Macy's. Both of them sell comparable, or let's forget Walmart and Macy's. Let's go Walmart and Macy's. I'll use that as an example because it's real easy. Walmart sells a lot of stuff at a lower price. Right, they're still into retail, large retailers. Let's categorize them in that way. So they sell a lot of stuff, a lot of materials at a lower price. But they have a smaller profit margin. Macy's sells smaller quantities of price, but a higher level at a higher quality. When you look at your return investments or the profits or their sales, how much you're making, they're about the same. What's the difference? Different customers, different marketing strategy, different long-term organization goals. They're not looking for the low end. They're looking for the high end customers. They're going to come in, buy a few products, and willing to pay a higher price for the product, but my cost for the product is still low. I have a higher profit margin, but I have to keep the goods longer. Remember, that's all part of the distribution. So in the long run, what is my marketing strategy? The overall. And the advertisers know that they're targeting Macy's. When you look at their Macy's catalogs or some of their catalogs, high end. They're not cheap. They're probably better than some of the textbooks you have. Shiny, costly, qualities in the paper, good picture, good imagery. Versus when I look at Walmart's ads in the newspaper, the ink comes out of my hand. Not that this newspaper usually does have that. All right, I'm not backgrounding Walmart. I'm just using the example from consumer. How do I look at the difference? When I pick up a Macy catalog, I already know it's going to be a higher end. Okay. Now, place and distribution. I've got direct, network buyers, real easy. I got indirect. Intensive. So if I'm looking at indirect, you have pop machines all over. They just saturate them. Selective for coach. Exclusive. If I'm looking at Mercedes-Benz or Lexus, there's only so many distribution areas that I could go. When I look at the logistic, where I could buy the product. Now, when I look at vertical. And vertical basically is franchisees. They're just an extension of me doing the same thing, but independently owned. So most of the risk and everything is on them. They're just using my name. I'm not going to explain what franchisee and franchisors are. You already had that if you had me for a business. If you hadn't, you'd take a general introduction to business at your community college or your four-year universities, or the Small Business Association has classes. So you have a general idea how all these other aspects work. Okay, so we have that. And now the last one is my promotional element. And I'm going to use this because I like the picture. This whole series comes down right to here. I understand my market. I understand my customers. I understand their psychographic, their demographics, their education. I understand their buying habits. I've learned that from us. I have all this information. Now, going forward, how do I communicate with them? How do I, my product advertising, my sales promotions. Remember, at Walmart, there are different sales promotions. They have a lot of clearance, even though Macy has a clearance section all the way down in the basement, in the corner, because that's not what they want people. Walmart, you come into the clearances right there. You want people right away to buy the clearance. And remember, when Walmart has items on clearance, there's not that they're discontinued. There's nothing wrong with those items. It's just not turning around. Walmart's looking at turning around goods faster. So if that because they have a small profit margin. So if that good's not turning around fast enough, they get rid of it. They just take it off to say, hey, bring me another product. Because every square foot on Walmart generates a dollar sign. Macy's, on the other hand, they don't want to have the clearance, but they have stuff. They don't have some thrift shoppers going to come in there just to look at Macy's. They may not be the regulars, but how do I get rid of it? I could still sell it and still make money, but it's in the corner. You have to go all the way down there. And then hopefully maybe somebody will buy it. And some of the people who have the money will go into the thrift section because they want to pay that. And that's why the TJ Maxx is the same thing. They've got the high-end stuff, but a lower cost because it's discontinued items. Do you see the difference between the clearance? But that's their whole model. Okay, so I got collateral materials, public relations. Do I have the mayor coming in there? Do I have, if I look at North Face, when they're out there, you see news anchors has them, so they have their logo on there. And a lot of some individuals say, hey, I like the high quality. I'm not advertising for you. I'm not advertising for Reebok. I want just a product. I'm not out here. I don't really care. So they don't want the name on there. They may just have their logo real lightly in there. Okay, direct marketing directly to the individual. Personal selling is the most expensive type of selling. And personal selling, if I'm looking business, it's all personal selling. Because you're not going to have Motorola or Abbott or ComEd come to your store. You come to them because you're such a large buyer. And once you buy, you go through the whole process. You are a repeat buyer for a long time. I just have to maintain you. Yeah. All right, so personal selling is expensive. You go to a lot of stores, you have very few personal sell. You have personal selling for cars, high-end item, personal selling for computers. You have personal selling for jewelry, expensive jewelry, because there's more of an interaction, but there's a higher return on the higher return, a higher margin, profit margin return for that product when they or good that I sell to them. Okay, so this comes into my communication mix, that advertising. When the salesperson comes in there, what do they do? Oh, you read the ad. Here's an ad. Oh, here's something. Call me. Or direct marketing. They get information. They do surveys. Did you buy this? And they directly target by the zip code where they know there's a high potential of babies, or there's a high potential of baby boomers, or empty nesters, or single people. There are a lot of apartment complexes. How do I advertise to them? Okay, sales promotion. How do I get a sales promotion? What do I do? Sales promotion. A lot of times, Macy's has a high quality end, or let's look at Kohl's clothing line, for lack of better words. They have, here's the high price. Suggested price is $50, and now the sales promotion, they bring it down to $20. So now I'm comparing. Now if I go to Macy's, they may not want to drop it down. So the quality is still there. They may have to do something else. Will you buy this luxury shirt? We'll give you a free luxury shirt. You don't want the discounts. You want something comparable. Or we'll give you a free tie at this level. Or you could buy one comparable by half off or whatever. And when they say half off, they're still making a profit on that half off. If they say, if you really want to know what the pricing is, just real quickly, just look at the clearance things at the end of the season. And you see a shirt, a vest or something else that was $90, and now they're selling for $20. That's probably what they paid for it. But they had the markup, so they don't want to lose money. Just want to get their cost back on the inventory. And sometimes when you see antennas, just want to get rid of it because it's still cheaper to give it to somebody else than to dispose of it. That's the accounting aspect that comes in there. All right. So that takes care of that. So that takes care of this lesson here. So now you know a little bit about how to segment the market, the importance of segmenting, because you want to be effective, and you want to make sure you get a good return on your ads. So when you send the ads, you want to saturate the right people. You want to send me something about babies, and you're saturating the area, and they're all baby boomers, empty nesters. I don't have any kids, but remember, I threw that in there. I may have grandkids, so that may make. Why am I getting all this baby advertising in here? Because there are a lot of grandparents, and they said there's a lot of grandkids. So that may be a good market. So this is this whole thing. How do I segment it? And now that I know the segmentation, I had this information. Now I have to be able to communicate directly to that segment that I've identified through my advertising communication tools that I have available for me. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you. Bye.